is 7:32 p.m. on Tuesday, July 14th, 2026. Good evening. My name is Christian Klein. I am the chair of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'm calling this meeting of the board to order. I would first like to confirm that all members, excuse me, and anticipated officials are present. Some from the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have Roger DuPont
Here.
and Patrick Hanlon
Here.
and Venkat Hawley
Here.
and Adam LeBlanc
Here.
and Brad Baranowski
Here.
and Nicholas Rosenberg.
Here.
Good to have you all here. On behalf of the town, we have Colleen Ralston, our clerk and zoning assistant.
Here.
Good to have you with us as well. I don't think there's anyone else here from the town. And then for the hearings we have this evening, for docket 3906, 355 Appleton Street, do we have Riyash Mohammed?
Yes, here.
Good to have you with us. For docket 3908, 15 Janet Road, Saul Moskowskowitz.
Here.
Good to have you with us. And then for docket 3905, 87 Grandview Road, Bahe Oanessian.
Here.
Good to have you with us as well. So tonight's meeting of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted remotely, consistent with a bill signed by Governor Healy on March 28th, 2025, which extended temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to June 30th, 2027. The extension of these provisions allows public bodies to hold their meetings remotely by providing live, adequate alternative means of public access to the deliberations. This meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast by ACMi. Members of the public who are participating via Zoom and who wish to offer public comment should be aware that they will be asked to provide their full name and address so that a complete public record of the meeting can be taken in accordance with state law. All participants of this meeting are advised that people may be listening to the meeting without offering public comment, and those people are not required to identify themselves. Any votes that are taken this evening will be conducted by roll call vote. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. As chair, I reserve the right to take items out of order in the interest of promoting an orderly meeting. As the board will be taking up new business at this meeting, as chair, I make the following land acknowledgement. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington, Massachusetts, discusses and arbitrates the use of land in Arlington, formerly known as Menotomy, an Algonquin word meaning swift waters, the board hereby acknowledges that the town of Arlington is located on the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts tribe, the tribe of indigenous peoples from whom the colony, province, and commonwealth have taken their names. We pay our respects to the ancestral bloodline of the Massachusetts tribe and their descendants who still inhabit historic Massachusetts territories today. So moving on to our agenda. First item is an administrative item. I'll note that administrative items relate to the operation of the board and as such will generally be conducted without input from the general public. The board will not take up any new business on any prior hearings, nor will there be the introduction of any new information on matters previously brought before the board. So the first item on our agenda is vote to approve the meeting minutes from our June 23rd, 2026 meeting. These are minutes that were prepared by Ms. Ralston, distributed to the board for questions and comments, and a final version posted back to the board. Are there any additional questions or comments as they relate to the minutes from June 23rd? Seeing none, I move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington approve the minutes from the June 23rd, 2026 meeting of the board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont. So roll call vote of members present at that meeting, voting yes or no. Mr. DuPont,
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
Mr. Hawley,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Those are approved. That brings us to item 2 on our agenda, which is the approval of the decision in docket 3903 Orchard Terrace. 14 Orchard Terrace. I will note that I was recused from this, and so I will pass the baton back to Mr. Hanlon to conduct the vote on that decision.
Thank you. The item before us is an opinion that was prepared by me and distributed earlier in the day. Ms. Ralston, could you confirm that whether this is 3903 or 3902?
Hold on one second.
25 Heath is 3903. And 14 Orchard is 3902.
So, I'm sorry, what we're dealing with now is 14 Orchard, right?
Orchard. Yeah, 3902.
Okay. So the chair will move that the board approve the opinion in 3902, 14 Orchard Terrace, involving an enclosed porch and an extension of nonconformities. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded, it was by Mr. DuPont. All in favor, please say yes in a roll call for Mr. DuPont,
Yes.
Mr. Holey,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Who am I missing? I don't. Oh, the acting chair votes yes. This is on the merits. So on this, the associates are not allowed to vote, unfortunately. So the motion carries.
Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
in the absence of myself being recused, would Mr. Baranowski be eligible to vote on this matter?
I guess, yes, that's true. Mr. Baranowski would be. Mr. Baranowski.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And of course, the chair himself is recused and is not voting on the subject, and Mr. Rosenberg was absent. And so the motion carries again. Mr. Chairman, let me give the chair back to you.
Thank you so much. Item 3 on our agenda is the approval for the decision in docket 3903 25 Heath Road. So this is a decision that I had written last week, distributed to the board for questions and comments. Final version posted back to the board this afternoon. I will note that I believe I referred to it as 3904 possibly in the written decision. And if so, that should be corrected to 3903. Are there any other changes or comments as they relate to the decision in 25 Heath Road? Seeing none, I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington approve the written decision in docket 3903 25 Heath Road, which grants a special permit for a second driveway under sections 3110A and 333 in the zoning bylaws.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. So vote of the board, Mr. DuPont,
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
Mr. Hawley,
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. That is approved, and that concludes our administrative items this evening. Brings us up to our public hearings. Before opening tonight's meeting for public hearings, here are some ground rules for clear and effective conduct of tonight's business. After I announce each agenda item, I will ask the applicant to introduce themselves or themselves and to make their presentation to the board. I will then request that members of the board ask what questions they have on the proposal. After the board's questions have been answered, I will open the meeting for public comment. And at the conclusion of public comment, the board will deliberate and vote to either continue or to close the public hearing. All votes will be conducted by roll call vote. The final vote on any matter before the board will be taken at a subsequent meeting once the written decision has been drafted and provided to the board. After the decision has been adopted and signed, the decision will be filed with the town clerk, starting the 20-day appeal period under state law. After that time, the applicant may proceed with their building permit. However, under state law, no decision granted by this board shall take effect until a certified copy of the final decision has been filed with and recorded at the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds in Cambridge by the applicant. So with that, we'll move to item 4 on our agenda this evening, which is docket 3906, 355 Appleton Street. So if I could have the applicants please introduce themselves and tell us what they are proposing to do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is MD Riaz Mahamud, and my wife Dishari Jahan, she is with me. So we are living at 355 Appleton Street. We are requesting a variance permit to allow a second driveway within the front yard. The purpose is to address the unsafe access caused by existing narrow and steeply sloped driveway. So our driveway is very steep and narrow. It's and our driveway is located in the Appleton Street. Before the Appleton Street, before our house, the Appleton Street has a sharp bend. Because our driveway is narrow, steep down, we cannot see the car coming from the Appleton Street and going to the Route 2. So a lot of time I need to do back and forth to coming out of the property and going in the property. So we also mentioned different criteria how we can fit the application. But one thing I did not mention in the application is that both me and my wife has a herniated discs and we have back pain. So cleaning this downhill driveway is very tough for us. So and especially during winter, it just covered all the snow come and move into that downhill driveway. So we are requesting to have a second driveway in ground level in our front yard so that we can have a safe access to the property.
Okay, thank you. I will go ahead. I can share the plan. So this is the plot plan that was provided by the applicants. So Appleton Street here at the bottom. Where it says concrete here, this is their existing driveway, which slopes down to a garage at the basement level, which is about a half a grade down. And they are requesting would be to have the driveway here in this position marked in red. So one space is 8.5 by 18. And the reason this is before us as a variance rather than a special permit is a request for a second driveway may be heard as a special permit only if the proposed second driveway meets the minimum requirements for a driveway, which this does not, being entirely within the front yard, which is the reason that this is being considered as a variance application. And then also the applicant had provided some images. So here, this is taken approximately from the proposed location of the new driveway. You can see the house, you can see the driveway sloping down to the basement level here. And you can see how Appleton Street continues and turns as it approaches the end of the street. Here in plan, shows the location where the proposed driveway is, the location of the house, and then notes that this hedgerow here that's affiliated with their neighbor blocks their view from their cars when they are trying to look beyond the curve here up Appleton. And then again in plan view, their property, this is the location of the driveway that goes down. This is where they are looking to and have a front yard parking space. And that's the images that they had provided to us. So I'll go ahead and stop the share. Where'd that button go? There it is. Okay. So where this is being put forward as a variance, variance is very much different than a special permit. It's controlled directly by under state law in Chapter 48, Section 10, and has 4 specific criteria which need to be met in order for the variance to be granted. Just to review for the board, the first criteria is that there needs to be a circumstance relating to soil condition, shape, or topography, especially affecting the land or structures, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it's located. The second is how a literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning bylaw, especially relating to the circumstances affecting the land or structure noted above, would involve a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner or applicant. The third is that to describe how desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. And the last is how desirable relief may be granted without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the zoning bylaw of the town of Arlington. So the first thing to consider is what is it about the property that is unique in the district that relates to soil shape and topography. So as we noted before, the lot is itself a rectangular shape, so there's really nothing about the shape of the lot that would lend to it. And in the presentation and in the site plan, there's nothing specific about the soils that has been noted that would lend to the need for a variance. So the last would be the question of topography. So according to the plan that is provided, which I can go ahead, I should reshare that. Mm. So the current driveway, it's the elevation at the base of the driveway is identified as being at 98 feet. And up at the street, it's close to 100, so it's about 2 feet down from here to the level of the street. Slightly, the appears that the land is slopes up along here, so along the side, so it is slightly higher. But effectively, it's a 2 foot drop in the area of the driveway. And I would ask the applicant, I noticed in the photos you provided, the cars are parked nose in. Have you tried seeing if you could if you could back into the driveway, if that provides you with any benefit?
Um, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So when you park your cars in the existing driveway, do you sort of drive in, nose in, and then back out onto Appleton, or do you back into your driveway and then drive out forwards onto Appleton?
I try nose in and then back out.
Okay. And as you noted, there's a lot of sort of trees and things between yourself and the traffic that's coming further from the east around the corner and then in front of your house on Appleton and then proceeding down towards Route 2.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, stop the share again and ask members of the board for their questions. Mr. Rosenberg.
Yeah, I would just ask if the concern, look, I totally get it. I mean, this is, many of these houses in the neighborhood have narrow driveways that are steep. So, I don't want to get into the uniqueness at this point. My only question is, if the issue is having to maintain the driveway during snow and the danger of pulling out, would you consider proposing to remove the existing driveway if the new driveway were granted, or do you intend to continue using the existing driveway? Would be my question.
We will not need it, but we don't have plan to remove it. If
Okay.
we have a new, yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, without expressing any opinion yet whether I believe the criteria are met, I would just note that, one possibility, if the board were inclined to grant a variance, would be the condition that the existing driveway be returned to permeable open space.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman,
Other members of the board, Mr. Hanlon.
I had the same idea that Mr. Rosenberg did. It possibly doesn't relate to soils, shape and topography, but it might relate to the third question as to whether or not relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the neighborhood. If you look at the photographs here, you see is relatively small front yards, and this would change if you left both driveways there, including one that isn't needed at all. It would kind of fill up that front yard and certainly make some changes that may or may not be thought of as desirable for the neighborhood. I'm wondering a little bit, to go back to topography. We figure soils are out and shape is out. The topography is only about a 2 foot drop. And I wonder, I mean, I'm wondering a little bit whether or not, if you're only looking at the topography and you're only looking at that 2-foot drop, that presumably the slope of the street is shared by everybody else who's living on the street, and the vegetation and so forth doesn't really fit into a topography rationale. A 2-foot drop doesn't seem that extreme, and we have that all over Arlington, more than that, and uh, we don't usually think of that as being an unsafe thing. We do, however, have, and I have to drag out my memory here on the bylaw, but we do have a provision uh, that says, if I'm just, Chairman, correct me if I get the details wrong, but that you're not allowed to have a 15% slope, uh, uh, more than a 15% slope, and in return for that, you are entitled to have one fewer parking space or something like that. I'm not in the middle of this looking for that position, but there is some hint in the bylaw as to where the town considers steepness as being dangerous and where not. And I have the feeling that the slope here um, does not reach that level. So I'm having some problem figuring out. I mean, I can see, I mean, to me, the hardest thing to get out would be the telephone pole and the tree that's right next to the driveway. Um, but I'm not sure that I can find my way through to thinking that topography is the source of the applicant's problem. And I just want to stress for a second that all we can take into account is general problems, right? The problems that relate to the special problems of the applicant, while, we almost always have got a lot of serious of them are precluded by law from our taking those into account. So, back trouble and things that are specific to a particular applicant are things that we can sympathize with, but not grant a variance on the basis of.
That is correct.
Mr.
And
Chair. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to also comment in regards to the zoning bylaw. There is a provision on usable open space that allows for a smaller area based on whether if there's a driveway at the front that is flat rather than um, at a is excuse me, sloped downwards. Mr. Baranowski.
I just wanted to ask the applicant whether they knew how the driveway came to be constructed at this slope. I'm assuming it was constructed because if I'm viewing the plan and pictures correctly, that there's a garage at the basement level. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So, to the best of your knowledge, the driveway was probably dug down to that level.
Yes.
So I guess the reason I asked that is for the topography portion of the variance test, my understanding had been that it had to do something with the kind of innate topography of the lot, not kind of the modified topography of the lot. And I kind of putting this out there for the board to push back if I'm misunderstanding, but this is kind of a topographical feature that has been created by the very nature of the way the lot is being used and the house has been designed. And I guess my question is, can we take that into account even if we were able to get over kind of Mr. Hanlon's point that this might not be enough?
Definitely a question we will need to consider. So I do have on a screen here, and I'll go ahead and share this. So this is up here on Google Maps. So this is the corner house, which I believe is 351, where you can see the bushes that were identified in the photo submitted by the applicant. And then this is the applicant's house. This is the tree and the telephone pole that Mr. Hanlon had noted. Here is the driveway that goes down, and indeed there is a garage at the base of the driveway. As it is today, this is the next house up. They also have a basement driveway, but they have a much wider driveway than the applicant does. And again, here here the land slopes up more, so the driveway doesn't slope down. But again, basement access driveway, and then the last house on the block is similar to the one next to it. It appears the driveway is relatively level, um, but the ground is sloping up more considerably. And then on the opposite side of the street is all at grade um, parking, at least on this block. Now, the regulation doesn't say neighborhood, it says district, so that there has to be something about the soil shape topography of the property in relation to the district. But I did want to
Mr. Chair,
briefly show that.
if you could just go down to 307, the other way, just across the street on Appleton to the next block.
If in
Sorry.
this direction, do I want to go to the left or the right?
Left.
Go to the left.
Continue Appleton across the intersection, and then on your left, I believe is 307. Should be on your left, behind you.
Oh, on my left, sorry, yeah, 314. Have I gone too far? That's 311. Ah, this must be 307.
Oh.
Ah, there we go.
That's a driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think some of those are a little more similar, that and 311.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, so that's what's in this area here. They're a little more on the level. This one does seem to go down a little bit. Yeah. So it does look like in the vicinity of the house of 355, there are some others that go down. Here's another one that goes down a little higher up this, but this is a couple blocks away, but the same zoning district. Here again, another one that's under same zoning district. We're quite a ways down.
Color.
So here you can see going around the curve. Yeah, and that's the back to the applicant's house. Are there further questions from members of the board at this time?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
I think Mr. Dupont was first.
Go ahead.
So I was just curious as far as if you wouldn't, could you go back to the shot that you just showed of the house?
Yeah.
Please?
There we are.
So I certainly do understand the concern that the applicant has. And I think I was thinking the same thing Mr. Baranowski was, which is that, you know, the slope or the topography was really engineered as part of the original construction of the house. And I don't think that we normally take into account changes that are man-made to satisfy or to consider that criteria. I was just wondering if, and maybe it doesn't help at all, but I was just wondering if there's any opportunity to do any engineering of the end of the driveway in a way that would allow the applicant to be able to make the turn. Because I drove over there yesterday, and I do, you know, just driving in the area, it didn't seem, because it wasn't very busy, it didn't seem like it was necessarily that precarious. But then at a busy time of day, I'm guessing it can be quite the challenge if you're backing out, and, you know, you got to back either in or out. Maybe backing in is ultimately a better choice. But I didn't know if there was an opportunity under the bylaw to be able to like enlarge
the mouth of the driveway, not necessarily the curb cut, but, something that would allow some sort of turning. It would probably require, replacing or, putting the front walk in a different place. But I didn't know if that had ever been considered by them, if it's a matter of sort of making the turn before you get out onto the street. I just can't tell from the picture whether there's enough there and whether the bylaw would permit it anyway.
Mhm. So I'll go ahead and ask that of the applicant. Did you look at all into possibly increasing the width of the driveway? The town will allow a driveway up to 20 feet in width, even if it doesn't all head towards the required parking in the garage.
Yeah, so there is a electric pole and a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So that will prevent us, I think, to widening the width, and the visibility issue will still, I think, remain because ultimately I'm going down.
Right. And the question that had been asked by a couple of the board members of could you just infill the driveway? Um, I was sort of thinking, I thought earlier, like, could you actually make the driveway not, could you just take the existing driveway location and make it flat, and just not have it go to the driveway? But in doing that, you're also creating a front yard parking space because you are not connecting the driveway no longer leads to legal parking,
Yeah,
which
I
would
wanted to
which
do
would be the
that.
issue with that.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon?
if if it was straightened out in such a way and and flowers were planted on it the way on the other side, it could be. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily still be a driveway if you took certain measures to do it. So but let's suppose you increased it, you did something else with the door of the driveway. You may not let that be an entrance or exit of the house, and then you landscaped it so that it would be so that you couldn't put cars on it. That would not be a new nonconformity, would it?
Um,
It wouldn't be a driveway anymore,
it-
even if it is in the front.
Correct. Yeah. If it was made to be not a driveway, I was trying to think if there was a way could you modify the existing driveway to address the applicant's concerns without making it not a driveway?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that that would work. Mr. LeBlanc, I think you had a question as well.
Yeah, I just had a couple of things. Sort of the same question that's been asked a couple of times has been on my mind as well about it is sort of an engineered topography that's creating the slope. So how does that come into play when we're talking about variances? And I think we've sort of answered that already. I did also just want to touch again. We the house next door, 351 Appleton, that was in front of us almost just about a year ago for a second driveway. But just to reiterate your point, that one had the parking that was compliant with the setbacks because it was in the side yard or beyond the front yard setback, which is what
Right.
caused it to be a special permit versus a variance. So I wanted to make sure that that was reiterated. I was sort of just looking at the plot plan. I don't think this is really feasible. I think it's a little too narrow. But if it was possible to get past what is the chimney and then create a parking space back on the side of the house, so that you would have a driveway that led to a legal parking spot and we wouldn't be a variance.
Mhm.
It's 6.7 feet, so it's like if you could make the parking space beyond where that chimney is,
Right.
it maybe it's wide enough. It's not dimensioned on here, so it's tough to actually understand what exactly it is. But I'm not sure if even that's wide enough for it to be considered a parking spot.
Yeah, I think it's 7.5 feet is the minimum width um, that would be allowed. So I don't think we could get by that side. It is a little wider on this side here, on the 351 side. So if the applicant was to basically create a flat parking space in this area that dog-legged up in front of the house here, a driveway sort of in this shape, I think could be constructed that would meet the code requirements. It would not require a variance, and that would allow them, if they to flatten this portion out here, they would no longer have access to the garage from the outside, but it would also mean that it would now be a legal it would be legal and level parking, although they would have to, as the applicant had noted, navigate around the street tree and the telephone pole um, to exit their property.
Yeah, and then I think that's the question for them to answer themselves of, is that an improvement enough without having
Right.
to go through this whole process?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon?
I was just wondering, when this is really akin to a familiar problem of being able to see around a corner.
Yes.
And one of the standard ways of dealing with that is to have an appropriate kind of mirror that enables you to see the oncoming traffic from the right directions. And I wonder if something like that would solve the visibility problem without requiring large scale reconstruction in the house of the property.
I could certainly ask that of the applicant. Have you looked at all into whether there's some other, like adding mirrors or something would improve your visibility up and down the street?
I have not, but one thing I asked city, can I make a level parking? That I'd like to mention, but the city said you cannot block garage, I think.
Yeah.
You would not allow that.
Yeah, you would not. It would basically, you'd end up in the same situation that is being proposed, because if the driveway doesn't lead to a parking space, which there's legal parking in the garage, then it ceases to be a driveway. And then you're just parking in the front yard. So it would sort of be an equivalent problem of having a new second driveway that would be level in the front yard versus just taking the existing one and making it flat. It's the same variance problem.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Hawley.
if you can share the screen back, I think the way you suggested to flatten the land, but somehow keep the curb cut where it is with the existing, but adjust the maneuverability within the lot to get to the side yard parking spot, right, is one option. Like, not the way you explained the last time, instead of backing out to the light pole, keep the curb cut, but adjust the maneuverability or the curves of the driveway in order to have a legal parking on the side yard of the building as a possibility. Which is in line with what you were suggesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The other thought is, could you make the curb cut 20 feet wide, and then the driveway would have a portion here in front of directly in front of the entrance, which, unfortunately would be problematic for the entry, but would allow for, one car to sit here flat and then the other car to be here. You could probably level this out a bit and then dive down steeper to the parking below, but you could have an area here that might be flat enough for two cars before it slopes down.
Right. And in that case, the left parking is still considered legal because it's one of them is leading towards the garage. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just sort of has an odd shape to it.
Right.
At this point, let me see, where did I put go ahead and stop the share. And I'd like to hear if there are members of the public who would like to participate. So I'll now be opening this hearing for public comment. Public questions and comments will be taken as they relate to the matter at hand. It should be directed to the board for the purpose of informing its decision. Members of the public will be granted time to ask questions and make comments. Those who wish to address the board should digitally raise their hand using the button on the React tab in the Zoom application. Those calling in by phone, please dial *9 to indicate you would like to speak. You'll be called upon by the chair, asked to give your full name and address for the record, and given time for questions and comments. and all questions are to be addressed through the chair. Please remember to speak clearly. And once all public questions and comments have been addressed or a designated period of time has elapsed, the public comment period will be closed. So with that, I'm opening the public comment period for this hearing. So if there's anyone who would like to address this application, excuse me, which is docket 3906 355 Appleton Street. So we have a caller who would like to participate. If you could give your name and address for the record and tell us what you would like to say.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. I've had to call in tonight, so I don't have any video access at all. Yes, I live in this neighborhood, so I'm quite familiar with this situation. I guess the very first thing I would ask the applicant through you is how long the applicant has owned this residence.
I would ask Mr. Mao, do you mind disclosing how long you've lived at this residence?
Yes, around 4 years.
4 years. Thank you.
I'm sorry, was that 4 years? I didn't quite.
4 years, Mr. Moore. 4 years.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason I was asking that question is if the house was purchased with the current condition recently, and 4 years is not actually that recent, but if it was, they were fully aware of the situation when they purchased the property. And this is not a new situation. This house is not a new home. This complexity is just part of what goes with this property. I would be my personal initial reaction. That being said, I heard the board is trying to work with the possibilities to ameliorate the issue with the applicant that perhaps does not involve a second driveway, which is good. I think a second driveway in this area is a very bad idea, by the idea of replacing the driveway with not a driveway and building a second one, but now would become the primary driveway, makes more sense. This is a bad area. It's bad traffic. The reason the case was in front of you before was issues to do with the house on the corner, and I raised similar concerns at the time. Adding a driveway anywhere close to this very dangerous intersection is not a good idea. I didn't think it was the right approach before. The board disagreed with me, of course. That would be my same response in this case, which would be a second driveway compounds an already dangerous problem on the area with Appleton, and I believe it's Wollaston intersection. And so the answer of going, basically obliterating the current driveway, creating a new driveway, might make more sense in terms of safety and not adding a second driveway. I would also, depending on which way the board decides to approach this, if anything is to be granted or changed, I would request that whatever gets done, that it be a permeable surface, not an impermeable surface. And this area, it's not a large yard, it's not a large frontage. I think it's important to make sure that we get good drainage and good, not less impermeable, not greater amounts of impermeable surface added. And I guess finally to finish up, this is repeated throughout the neighborhood. This is a problem, particularly in the LA areas of town, with these driveways that angle downwards to garages that are often in the basement area or below the first floor. This is not unique. It's just part of the difficulty of living in this part of town, and the idea of multiple driveways and multiple driveway requests by residents who have this situation that's held in common is just not a trend I would like to see encouraged and supported. Just my views. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Are there any other members of the public who would like to address this application? Again, this is Docket 3906, 355 Appleton Street. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public comment period for this hearing. The board will now discuss findings and vote to either close or recommend a continuance. So with that, what the board has before it, this is a variance request to provide a front yard parking space in front of the house at 355 Appleton Street. The property has an existing legal driveway leading to basement level parking below, and as the applicant has noted, a combination of the slope going down, but also some trees, a pole, and some other plantings do create a situation for them where it is difficult to see coming out of their driveway onto Appleton, which is a very busy street, especially during commuting times where it is often used as a shortcut leading out to Route 2. So the first thing that the board would need to do, if it was to grant a variance, was it would need to find that there is something related to the soil condition, shape, or topography, especially affecting such land or structure, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it's located, that would substantiate the granting of a variance. As I noted before, there's really no question about the soil condition or the shape of the lot. Those are both perfectly fine and very common for the neighborhood. So this really is a question of the topography. And I know the board has sort of gone back and forth a little bit on this question here. This is effectively a flat lot, but the topography has been adjusted in order to allow for basement level garage, and so the land slopes down by a couple of feet from the street down to the bottom of the driveway. And this is something that affects this house, but as we had looked around, there's also a number of other houses on Appleton that have a similar condition. And there are certainly all over Arlington in both this district, the R1, but also in the R2 district, a number of houses that have been constructed recently that also have basement level garages with downsloping driveways. And I think it's would be relevant for the board to consider sort of all these situations as a whole. Does the board consider that the adjusting of the topography of a site to allow for lower level parking, is that sufficient to justify getting past the first test of a variance? Are there opinions
Chairman.
from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon?
just to start it off, my view is no. I think that this is both too widespread. It's a generalized problem with down under driveways. It's something that's been recognized and described by town meeting. And this is by no means one of the more severe applications of that problem. I don't think that, and when going further than that, I don't think that the slope of this driveway by itself is what poses the problem. I think what poses the problem is essentially the telephone pole and probably more the street tree. And those are not things that we can take into consideration under topography. I'm not sure that I would say that man-made topography never could count. I can imagine circumstances where it would count. But when you design a house where integrally to the design of the house is a down under garage and a driveway that leads to it, I don't think that kind of man-made change to the topography under those circumstances is a kind of topological problem that the zoning bylaw, not the zoning bylaw, that section 10 would allow us to take into account. So if if we were eventually polled on the subject, I would not be able to support the conclusion that the applicant's hardship arises from topography.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Other members of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dupont?
So I would just echo what Mr. Hanlon said, and I would urge the applicant to try and consider if there are other ways of addressing the concerns that he has, because as I hear it, it's more of a sightline backing out sort of problem. And I do wonder, maybe I'm oversimplifying, but I do wonder if there would be some sort of a fix in terms of expanding, not necessarily the curb cut, but possibly as well, you know, an area in the front that would permit somebody to do a 3-point turn if they've pulled in front ways and be able to then, you know, make themselves in a posture to be able to drive out, you know, front ways as opposed to having to back out onto the street. But to me, I think that that would be worth checking into. And then I would just say that I think that the applicant needs to understand that we don't really have discretion when it comes to making decisions under a variance like we would with a special permit. So our hands are tied to a certain extent. And I think it needs to also be clear that if in fact, you know, we go to a vote without, you know, having a continuance and there's a denial, then he's foreclosed from being able to take any action through the board for a period of 2 years. So I don't know if that was something that was understood, but I think it's worth mentioning.
Thank you, Mr. Dupont. Other comments from members of the board at this time?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. LeBlanc?
I'm in agreement with what Mr. Hanlon and Mr. Dupont had to say on the matter of the topography, and I also agree with Mr. Dupont if there could be some updates to the approach to this, that if we could make it more of a special permit or something that's done as of right, that's probably a better path for the applicant in this situation.
Thank you for that. So I think I personally do also agree with the other members of the board that I don't think that this rises to the standard that is required for a variance in terms of an issue with a topography. In the prior cases we've had where it's topography, it's really a very considerable change in elevation that is unique to a particular property, or something along those lines, and not something like this, particularly in my mind, partly because it is not a feature specifically related to the land, but it is something that was created, and it's something that's very common, as we noted in this area of Arlington and also in other portions of Arlington. To the point raised by Mr. Dupont, should the board vote, I think I would ask for a straw poll of the board to determine if the board feels that the first criteria for a variance can be met. And then upon that vote, I'll ask the applicant if they would like us to proceed to close the hearing, which, as Mr. Dupont had noted, would effectively be a denial of the variance application, which would preclude a similar application for a period of 2 years, or if the applicant would prefer to withdraw, in which case the case effectively is null and void, and then the applicant retains their rights to come back before the board with an alternate proposal at a time of their choosing. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon.
can I just, I'm not sure it's entirely clear, but I think that in this procedure you just described, we should emphasize that in order to obtain a variance, you have to get a yes vote on all 4 criteria, and we've only been talking about 1 so far. But if any one fails, the whole application fails. So by looking hard at the topography, and we don't find our way to a variance, that would mean that we wouldn't be able to find our variance on any other thing either. This isn't one of these things where we balance everything and decide what's in the public interest. If you fail on any one of the pieces, then you fail altogether.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. So I will just do a quick straw vote, straw poll of the full members of the board and their whether they feel that the case has been made for the first of the 4 variance criteria, that there is something related to the soil shape or topography of this site or structure that is leading to a hardship, but that is not common for the neighborhood or the zoning district. So ask Mr. DuPont.
I don't believe that that has been satisfied.
Thank you. Mr. Hanlon,
I don't believe that that has or can be satisfied.
Mr. Holly,
Agreed, Mr. Chair. Not to the level of being satisfied.
okay, and Mr. LeBlanc,
I agree as well, not to the level to satisfy that
okay,
threshold.
and the chair agrees as well. I don't feel that we can find that the first criteria for a variance has been met. So with that, I will return to the applicant. The board has 2 options at this point. Since we can't move forward to approve, we would just vote to close, and then we would issue a denial of the variance application, or if you would prefer to request to withdraw the application, then the board can vote to accept the withdrawal, and then that leaves you with your ability to proceed in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, so in that case, I would like to request a withdrawal of the application.
Great, thank you for that. So what the board has, this is a request to withdraw the application for docket 3906, 355 Appleton Street. And so the members of the board, we would need to vote to accept. So let me just quickly modify the recommended vote. So I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington accept the withdrawal of the application for docket 3906, 355 Appleton Street.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. So roll call vote of all members and associates of the board. We have Mr. DuPont,
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
Mr. Holly,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Actually, I think this is just a vote of the full members of the board. Apologies to the associates. And then the chair votes yes. So that is unanimous vote to accept the withdrawal of the application. So appreciate the applicant coming before us this evening. Sorry, isn't better news for what you had hoped to do. But I hope you are able to find a solution for your issues with your driveway.
Can I ask one question?
Of course.
Is it possible to remove this electric pole and tree? Because these are city thing. I don't know.
So the tree is a public street tree. It requires a hearing before the town to have a removal. And I do not know the procedure for relocating a pole. I don't know what's involved, but that's a question. I think you could, if you pose that question to the office of the select board or to the town manager's office, they should be able to provide you with better information.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon?
one thing with respect to the pole, mostly those poles are owned by a utility in Arlington, typically Verizon, as you know. And it's complicated to move them because there's got all those wires on them and you've got to get permission for each one. So it takes some time, but it has been done, as it was in the Myrac Artemis case. And so it's something that you need to, it's not easy, but it's usually possible. And it takes a long time.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you very much. With that, I will return to our agenda. We'll move on to item number 5, which is docket 3908 15 Janet Road. So if I could ask the applicant to go ahead and introduce themselves and tell us what they are proposing to do.
Hello, my name is Saul Moskowitz. I moved to Arlington 1 year ago with my wife, Talia. We had our first baby 2 months ago, and we have 2 senior dogs. We quickly realized that we do not have enough storage space in the home. We would like to build a small mudroom in the front of our house to add more storage space for our stroller, sneakers, and jackets. This would include putting an overhang above our door. We do not have a garage or entry room, and there is no overhang above our door to protect us from weather or to have a safe place for packages. Most of the homes on our street have a garage and an overhang above their front doors. And our proposal would make the front of our mudroom 20 feet from the street. And there is a bylaw that requires there be 25 feet between the street and any porch.
Great. Thank you very much. First off, congratulations on the child. That's wonderful news for you and your family. I will go ahead and share the plans here. So this is the plan of 15 Janet Road. For some members of the board, this may look familiar. This same property was before the board back in 2 years ago. We issued on October 8th, 2024, we issued I believe a special permit and a variance on this property, a variance for an addition with a garage, and a special permit for a canopy over the front entry, but it was not a request for an enclosure. Due to the time constraints, the variance expired in October of 2025, and the current special permit is set to expire in October of 2027. There's a 3-year action period for a special permit. So just to note for the board that the variance that was previously approved has expired, but the special permit that was previously issued is still technically in effect, but does not cover the scope of work that the applicant is requesting. So the Janet Road is here in front. This right of way here is not a paved right of way. It is a lawn and is used by the abutting neighbors as property. So effectively, the backyard is deeper than it appears functionally. It's not just a street right away. And it is an oddly shaped lot because it does come to a point, and it has an easement at the point itself. And this is the current steps are here, and this is where the applicant is proposing to do the mudroom addition at the front. So the existing floor plan, so they're looking to remove here at the front, remove the existing entry, and then as the applicant had noted, there's constructing a new mudroom here at the front with a small closet on one side, the counter seating here on the other side, and then again steps leading up and to this mudroom. And then just the roof plan is a single shed. And then a front elevation and side elevation. And then just returning back here to the plan, as the applicant had noted, the required setback for the district is 25 feet. The current house is just over 25 feet. And an applicant is allowed to construct a mudroom within the front yard setback closer than the required setback with a special permit from the zoning board. So with that, I would ask members of the board if they have any questions in regards to this application.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Barnowski.
I just asked the applicant, if I'm reading the plan right, and correct me if I'm wrong, would the mudroom have no windows on it?
Correct. It would have, I think they're called, I forget what they're called, but side lights around the door. So we would buy a door that had columns of windows on each side.
And would that cover most of the front? I mean, just would most of the front basically look, when you're looking at it, pretty much like open and kind of glassy with that door?
I think so. We have not picked a door yet, but I think that's a good representation right there of what the look that we would be going for.
Mm-hmm. The only reason I ask is because often when we've done these porch enclosures, we've wanted a lot of windows. And I was wondering, I saw on the side, and if the chair could maybe flip the drawing to the side with the yeah, not the, yeah, exactly. If I understand correctly, you're just going to have on that side a bench, not a closet, right?
A bench, place to take our sneakers off, and maybe a place to put the stroller next to the bench.
Would you be open to putting a window there? Because that would help to make the whole kind of construction a little bit lighter, looking from the front.
Sure.
I think they're in a position like that.
I would be open to that.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Baranowski. Other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none. Now be opening for public comment. So note that public comments taken as it relates to the matter at hand should be directed to the board for the purpose of informing its decision. Those who wish the board should digitally raise their hand using the button on the React tab or dial *9 if you are calling in by phone. To be addressed by the chair, ask for questions and comments. With that, are there any members of the public who would like to address this application? Again, this is docket 3908, 15 Janet Road. We have a caller who is looking to call in, and I recognize that number from the last hearing. I believe that would be Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. I have two questions here. First is kind of a legalistic one, I guess. I guess I'm a little confused as to why a special permit or variance granting that occurred previously here within the past 3 years or so, why those survive a house changing ownership?
So they run with the land. They don't run with the applicant. So they are registered as amendments to the property deed. So they run with the deed.
Well, I guess I would further ask then, let's say the new owner made changes or something. I find that peculiar. But that being said, it doesn't really matter how I find things, does it really? Secondly, the question has to do with this, which is now, I guess, a porch. I don't have the ability to view any of these files. I apologize this evening. Is this currently a porch? And if the porch is an open porch or is it a glassed-in porch or what is it exactly?
So there is a landing in front of the existing entry door that's effectively the width of the stairs and approximately 4 feet deep. And so it would be removing the steps, and then constructing back with a new mudroom, and then in front of the mudroom would be a new landing and steps.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in effect, are we increasing the living space of the house?
Correct.
And we're doing that by basically enclosing the porch, which works towards, I think, what Mr. Baranowski was trying to get at, which is making an enclosure that is in fact an enclosed porch look more like a porch, right?
It's that, but also the zoning bylaw does does specifically allow for the construction of a mudroom within the front yard setback, which is something I can bring up. So
I
this
guess
is-
I guess I'm a little interested in what's the definition of a mudroom? How is it different than a porch or a living space of the house?
Yeah. So this would be an enclosed entrance. So under 539A, blah, 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 blah. Porches and enclosed entrances not more than 25 square feet in floor area or more than 1 story high, which do not project more than 3.5 feet beyond the line of the foundation wall, may extend beyond the minimum yard regulations otherwise provided for the district in which the structure is built. Porches and enclosed entrances larger than that allowed above may extend into the minimum yard regulations otherwise provided for the district by special permit. So this is considered an enclosed entrance.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That helps clear things up for me. I guess I would support Mr. Brenowski's point about making this feel more porch-like, since that's what in effect is being replaced here, or landing. I'm not quite sure how it looks. I think that would help, just in following with what the board has typically done in the past with enclosed porches. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Are there other members of the public who would like to address this application? Again, this is docket 3908, 15 Janet Road. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public comment for this hearing. So what the board has before us, this is a special permit application under section 539A, or I guess actually it's technically 539D because there is an existing stair that needs to be moved. 539D notes that porches, decks, steps, and landings in the required setback are not considered to be within the foundation wall and may not be enclosed, extended, or built upon except by special permit. So I believe that is just looking to see what the actual application cited. Didn't cite, but it's both of those are two different ways to get to the same solution. So in order for the board to grant a special permit, the board needs to make a finding that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts. And in making that determination, there are additional findings which the board would need to make in supporting that determination. So the first of those would be that the requested use is allowed or allowed by special permit in the district. As we noted, section 539A allows for the creation of an enclosed porch within the front yard setback, and 539D also allows for the to build upon an existing steps or landing in the required setback. And so there is an avenue through the zoning bylaw to allow this by special permit. The second is that the requested use is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. As the applicant had noted, the existing house does not have a garage or other similar location to store sort of the typical implements that we use on a daily basis, and being a part of our neighborhood, and specifically here was a stroller and other things that are related to taking care of pets and being able to go out and enjoy the company of their neighborhood. And those would all be essential or desirable to the public convenience and welfare. Requested use will not create an undue traffic congestion or impair pedestrian safety. This has nothing to do with the driveway, the sidewalk, and is nowhere near the street, so it will not have anything to do with traffic or pedestrians. Requested use will not overload any public system. This will be a very, very marginal increase in the required use of utilities for the applicant, but has no undue or overload of any system. Special regulations for the requested use are fulfilled. There are no special regulations related to sections under 539. The requested use will not impair the character or integrity of the district. As the applicant had noted, There are having the enclosed entrance, sort of mudroom on the front of houses is a common feature in Arlington and in their neighborhood. And the way that this is designed is uh, does a good job of sort of meeting the existing house. I thought the recommendation by Mr. Baranowski to include sort of an upper wall window on the what effectively would be the right-hand side above the counter there would be a good addition and help to better fit with the general character of mudrooms and enclosures. Uh, that the requested use will not be detrimental to public health or welfare. Very much in the opposite. This will be an improvement to the health and welfare of the applicants, and that it allows them better use of their home. And the requested use will not cause an excess of use detrimental to the neighborhood. This will continue to be in our single-family residence in the single-family residence district, which is the intended use. And taking all of that into account, I think the board can find that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts. In fact, I think I would find that there are very few adverse effects, if any, of this type of an addition, and that the beneficial impacts to the applicant and the owner and their relationship with their neighbors would be quite beneficial indeed. Are there any questions from the board in regards to those proposed findings?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon?
just would like to take a moment to clarify that this is not really like the read like a porch cases that we have been talking about for the last couple of years. That was really talking about taking things that were porches and essentially gobbling them up and incorporating them into the basic structure of the house so that it was effectively an addition that was put in the front yard setback. That's what the standard case was. And that had given us some concern that we wanted to find some way of keeping this porch-like character and not making this just be a fancy way of saying that you're extending the house an extra so many feet into the front yard and essentially undermining the setback. This is the kind of case that we were doing when I got onto the board, and I didn't think they were new then. If you look at the drawing, the elevations here, you see that there's no issue whatever about whether this reads like a porch or a mudroom. This isn't, colonizing the inside, colonizing the outside. It's just building a mudroom. It's a relatively small structure. It's delimited. Nobody would mistake it for an effort just to stealthily, that's pejorative, but just to extend the inside and to undermine the effect of the setback. So to me, this is not a difficult case. It functions as an enclosed entrance. It is the sort of thing we've been doing for a long time, and for all of the reasons the chairman said, we've approved these things for a long time. I can't remember turning one down. It's the sort of thing that in general is beneficial to the community and something that we've encouraged, and I'm enthusiastic in supporting it.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Should the board vote to close the hearing this evening, there are 3 standard conditions that we would apply to a decision. The first is that the plans and specifications approved by the board for the special permit shall be the final plans and specifications submitted to the building inspector of the town of Arlington in connection with this application for zoning relief. Should be no deviation during construction from approved plans and specifications without the express written approval of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals. The second is the building inspector is hereby notified they are to monitor the site and should proceed with appropriate enforcement procedures at any time that they determine violations are present. The building inspector shall proceed under section 3.1 of the zoning bylaw and under the provisions of chapter 40, section 21D of the Massachusetts General Laws and institute non-criminal complaints. If necessary, the building inspector may also approve and institute appropriate criminal action, also in accordance with section 3.1. And the third is that the board shall maintain continuing jurisdiction with respect to this special permit grant. To that, I would add 2 proposed conditions. The first is that the applicant will add a window to the right side of the enclosed entrance above the interior counter. And the second is that the board withdraws, and I would have to ask Mr. Hanlon and Mr. Baranowski if this is appropriate wording. But I'm looking to effectively withdraw the prior issued special permit, just because it's no longer necessary. It makes sense at this time to remove it. That one was October.
Maybe we ought to work on that as we get to the formal opinion. I think that maybe figuring out the drafting in
Okay.
real time may not be the right thing. The basic idea is there that just to make everything clean, what we want to do is make this substitute for and replace the existing permit.
Absolutely.
And we just need to think of the right way to do that. And we want to consult with town council and make sure that we do this in a way that passes muster with the legal department.
Okay. That works for me. Are there any additional conditions which members of the board feel would be appropriate?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Baranowski?
I think the technical legal term you want is this old special permit poofs. It just poofs away. It's the real technical special. It's the
condition.
Really above the board way to do it. So.
Yeah, perfect. We will adopt that. So then hearing no further conditions, I would ask Mr. Hanlon if he would direct the drafting of a decision in favor of approval.
I would, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So with that, in a moment, I'll be moving to close the hearing. The board will vote to close. We will draft an opinion, and then at the board's next meeting, which is in 2 weeks on the 28th, the board would vote to approve the decision in favor of approval. So with that, I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Arlington close the public hearing on docket 3908 15 Janet Road.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Hanlon. So roll call vote of members present. Mr. DuPont?
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So we are closed on docket 3908 15 Janet Road. Appreciation to the applicant for being before us this evening, and we will be voting on the final decision in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, move to item 6 on our agenda this evening, docket 3905 87 Grandview Road. So I go ahead and ask the applicant to introduce themselves and tell us what they are proposing to do.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vahe Ohanessian. I am an architect and a contractor. My company is Boston Architects and Builders, and I represent the homeowners who are Alex and Nadav waving at us. They're present here. And so this project entails an addition in the rear of their single-family residence. The use will remain the same. It's a single family. Some of the spaces are a guest bedroom where one of the parents would be staying, additional space for their growing family with children, and also having a lot of time working from home. There are some needs in that area as well. The addition is about 1,171 square feet in total over a 2-story area in the rear. The original idea was to simply build the addition and connect it to the existing garage. However, the garage becomes part of the main structure when you connect it with the addition, and it creates a new violation given that it's only 6.1 feet from the side property line. And when I say side, there's a little jog there, but it is considered side according to the commissioner. And so the latest plan entails demolishing the 2-car garage and incorporating a smaller, what I might call 1.5-car garage, in order to maintain the 10-foot setback from that side lot line. Again, the side lot line is a jog.
I can go ahead and bring that up.
And other than the 750 square foot threshold of gross floor area, which requires a special permit. There is no other height or side yard setback that we're here for. It's only for the reason that it's over 750 gross square feet.
So this is the existing condition as the applicant had noted. The zoning bylaw, this is the rear lot line way back here.
That's correct.
And all of this is side. So currently the garage is 6.1 feet off the side, off this portion of the side lot line. Is 20.3 off of this side part of the side lot line. And in the proposed, they're shifting so that there's now 10 feet off of this side lot line. And what was before 11 feet, I believe this is 10 feet on this side as well. Is that correct?
Correct. Proposed, the red line is 10 feet.
Is 10 feet. Okay. And effectively, they are infilling the space from the back of the existing house to where the garage used to be, and then limiting the width of the garage to comply with the required setback. And then this is the drawing set that was provided. So existing garage and house, and then this is the infill between and the reconstructed garage. The usable open space for the property is here towards the rear. Existing two-car garage is going to be removed, patio, house, and then again the reduced garage, addition and house. So the area that's required for the usable open space just remains open. That's lawn. So some existing views and proposed views. So existing basement, proposed basement, so the new foundations, first floor demolition off the house, demolition of most of the garage, and then reconstruction, garage, guest, family room here, new half bath. And then upper story at the second level, removing this wrapping roof structure here, removing the upper portion of the garage. And then new roof on this portion over the family room over the garage. And then at the upper level, still have two bedrooms and then a new master suite here. And then at the topmost level, the attic floor, just basically removing a section of wall and window, some roof, and a new window for this suite up here at the top of the house. And then a roof plan, just infilling the roof. Just some notes, and then elevation. So existing elevation from the front, that's what you see from the street. Proposed, you really says no change, but effectively you can see here this very minor change from this appearance to this appearance here. Everything else is exactly as it is. From the right-hand side, it's just just the garage and the family room and the second floor bedrooms beyond. And then again from the left-hand side, and then from the rear itself. And that's the set. And as the applicant had noted, the reason this is before us this evening, in our zoning bylaw, under section 542B6, large additions requires that let's quickly scroll to it. There it is. Kind of straddles the page, but large additions, that no alteration or addition which increases the gross floor area of a building by the lesser of 750 square feet or 50% of the building's existing gross floor area shall be allowed unless the addition is constructed entirely within the existing foundation, which this is not, or the Board of Appeals acting pursuant finds that the alteration or addition is in harmony with other structures and uses in the vicinity. And specifically, in making its determination, the Board of Appeals shall consider, among other relevant facts, the proposed alteration or addition's dimensions and setbacks in relation to abutting structures and uses, and its conformity to the purposes of the bylaw as set forth in section 1.2. The increase in gross floor area used to determine the applicability of the section shall only include additions outside the existing footprint of the building. So as we had seen, it's a considerable amount of area that is occurring outside of the existing footprint, and that's the reason that this is considered a large addition. And I had gone ahead, I didn't have an opportunity to upload this, but this is from the town's GIS site, so this is the existing building. Because one of the criteria for a special permit for a large addition is how the relates to abutting structures and uses. So as you can see here, the proposed addition would be in this area here. So it's offset from the nearest house here at number 83 Perkins, and is not so far back that it is particularly close to 19 Perkins. This, I believe, is the old footprint of 95 Grandview, which is now considerably larger. And it is not on that side of the property. So you can sort of see that where this is being proposed is currently not directly in close proximity to other properties in the neighborhood, just for context. So with that, I will ask members of the board if they have questions.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. LeBlanc.
Not necessarily a question, more of a comment. I did take a drive by the site yesterday, and while the addition wouldn't be too visible from what you would see from Grandview, once you turn the corner onto Perkins, that the addition would start to become much more visible, and the mass of the house start to reveal itself there.
Okay.
So just, I think, something to consider when we're talking about harmony with the neighborhood.
Got it. Other comments from the board at this time? Seeing none, I will go ahead and open this hearing for public comment. Again, public comments taken as it relates to the matter at hand should be directed to the board for the purpose of informing its decision. Those who wish to address the board can digitally raise their hand using the button on the React tab in the Zoom application. And those calling in by phone may dial *9 to indicate you'd like to speak. You'll be called upon by the chair, asked to give your full name and address for the record, given time for questions and comments. All questions are to be addressed through the chair. And once public questions and comments have been addressed, the public comment period will be closed. So with that, we have a hand up as Holly Grogan. Good evening.
Can you hear us okay?
We can.
Hi, I'm Holly Grogan. I'm not sure if you can see us as well, but I'm here with my husband, Will Grogan, and we own 83 Grandview Road. That is directly to the right of 87 Grandview Road.
Okay.
Keep our property line together.
Oh, okay.
I also grew up on Grandview Road, so I've been here my whole life and love living in the area and want to continue living here with my husband now as well. We are on because we are opposing this application. We feel the size of it is very concerning. It would take up almost the entire existing backyard, and the space that's left over would what looks like to be just a patio. The size of it, as Adam had just mentioned, is very imposing on Perkins Street, which is our backyard as well. So visually, it imposes on our daily use of our backyard. It also, we're concerned about stormwater runoff from the addition, which I think that patio comment plays into the concern. You know, looks to me like the roof is sloped entirely towards our property. The topography as well already naturally slopes to our property, so adding those two factors together is a big concern for us. It does not look like there's any drainage plans included in there that possibly could minimize impacts or address the concerns. So that's one concern that we have. Another concern is my understanding for the setback requirement to be met at the garage area. It's not just being met by demolishing and rebuilding the garage. It's actually being met by swapping land with 19 Perkins Street, which is essentially the property in our direct backyard. So it's sort of like an L shape with 87 because we're on a corner. So that land swap now affects two of our lot lines with 87 Grandview Road and 19 Perkins Street. And my understanding is 19 Perkins Street has not been surveyed. So I'm not sure how we understand any potential zoning implications on 19 Perkins Street if that site hasn't been surveyed at this point. And one, you know, I'm not sure if I'm totally correct on this, but looking at the plans, I believe the architect had mentioned in this call earlier that once you connect the garage to the main building, it's now considered part of the residential structure. And so the way the drawings, if I'm reading them correctly, are actually presenting the garage as separate square footage, not as part of the square footage in the overall structure, which to me affects all the ratio calculations and what's presented in the package itself. I'm just not sure if that's totally accurate as presented. So those are, you know, we have other concerns that we emailed over, but I would say those are sort of the main things that stick out to us. I know that there was a document that was uploaded after the meeting had started related to the land swap as an informal informational document, but I'm just not sure how it's irrelevant. I think it's pretty relevant to the conversation.
Okay.
And
Thank you very much for that. When I had initially identified the house on the corner as 83 Perkins, that's actually your house. That's 83 Grandview.
correct.
Okay. Apologize. Want to make that correction. Did you have anything further you wanted to add?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is we have a caller, and I believe again this will be Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. My questions here are a little more traditional to my regular interests, which have to do with trees. Again, I apologize, I don't have access to any of the files or pictures or documents at this point. So I'm asking through you, Mr. Chair, is this large addition going to affect any trees on the property? That's the first question.
Let me go ahead and address that to the applicant. Mr. Honessian, are there any trees that will be impacted by this construction?
No.
Okay, Mr. Chair, that's helpful.
Thank you.
That's
Yep.
it. That's clear. And the one follow-up question I was going to ask, I guess, around the garage, which is going to be demolished and rebuilt more according to the typical setback. I assume that is the same. It's not going to be affecting any trees.
Correct. It's only getting smaller.
Right. Okay. I didn't know if it was going to go in the same footprint or get moved sideways. Okay, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So then our next, we have Evelyn Liang.
Hi, I'm Evelyn and Jess. We're 19 Perkins. Sorry we joined late. I just wanted to clarify that my understanding is that there are sort of two proposals. One is the proposal that includes like reducing the size of the garage, which doesn't require any kind of like land changes. And then there's another proposal that, depending on like survey results and things like that, may involve a land swap. So those are two separate like versions of this project. And my understanding is the current version of the project being discussed tonight is the one that just involves reducing the size of the garage and not the land swap.
That's my understanding. I don't believe any evidence of the land swap was issued before at the time of the application was required to be filed.
Okay, I just wanted to like clarify that.
If this is not out of order, I could respond now or later, Mr. Chairman, on that issue.
I'll come back to you on that because I'll have more
Sure.
questions.
Okay.
Okay. So are there any other members of the public who would like to address this application? Again, this is docket 3905, 87 Grandview Road. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close this hearing for public comment. So we had three speakers from the public who came to us. We had two of them are direct abutters. One who had a line of concerns that we'll go ahead and address with the applicant. And then our final ones had a question that also seems to relate to this a little bit. So I guess I'll start with this question of the land swap. So my understanding, this is a proposal that is unrelated to the application before us at this time, and I wanted to just confirm that with the applicant. So the the proposed land swap, is that something that is going to impact the decision the board makes this evening?
No.
May
I elaborate just
Yes, please
briefly
do.
on this? Okay. So currently the what we have submitted is purely reflecting current property lines as they stand without any modification to them whatsoever. And so with that, we are able to meet the setback requirement only by reducing the size of the garage.
Mhm.
Informally, but since it's been brought up now, I was going to bring this up after the vote, assuming we have a vote. I was going to suggest getting opinions and feedback on what would it look like because of the substantial financial additional cost of demolishing and rebuilding a garage. What would it take? What would be the feedback if we were to swap 4 feet of property line with the neighbor? And thank you, Evelyn, for sharing and clarifying that. If we were to swap 4 feet of land in order to make the current garage meet the setback requirement of 10 feet on that side.
So this effectively would swap this piece of land for this equally sized piece of land. So neither lot changes in size.
That's correct.
But in so doing, excuse me, would allow the existing outside lines of the garage to remain where they are.
Correct.
As opposed to having to reduce it.
Correct. We're not voting and requesting this now. I just brought, I included it here just to get feedback on the idea from the board.
Absolutely. So I would note that this is not before the board at this time. And so if the board, with the plan that the board is considering, which I'll go ahead and reshare, is this plan here. So if the applicant was to change the boundaries of the yards and to create a different condition, they would need to come back and amend the special permit
Correct.
So they would need to apply, come back before the board and request an amendment to the special permit should the board vote to approve the special permit this evening.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon?
I'd like to just mention that that amendment is not necessarily, I mean, would not necessarily be a foregone conclusion, because some of the issues that we're going to be dealing with in this proceeding is the massing of the house and the effect that that has on abutters in the neighborhood. And if you sort of don't reduce the size of the garage and you're essentially changing that massing. So it may very well be, it would be possible for us to say that it would be okay to do what you're proposing now, but have a heartburn with it with what I gather would be a larger and more massive structure than the one that you're proposing now, because the garage would be in a different place and would be full size. So I just want to say that you shouldn't consider that two-step process as something automatic to lead to where you're going. And I mean, this is the first I've heard about the land swap or anything of that kind, and have no opinions, whatever, and it's not before us what we would do if you made the change that you're suggesting, but it would be a brand new case. I mean, effectively, it would be a brand new case. We'd have to apply the criteria that we normally apply, some of which would be the same and some of which might not. So it is a little discomforting to have something that before us that is not necessarily really proposed, but you should recognize that by proceeding that way, you're taking on a risk.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. I can go ahead and close the share again. So then the other questions that were raised. So in regards to the question of stormwater, has this plan been brought before the engineering division in terms of the increase in impervious area?
We have not had a design done, an engineering design done for stormwater, only because we haven't been approved for the project just yet. But clearly, it does pass the threshold of 350 square feet of net impermeable area, and so there is a plan, assuming that this gets approved, to engage our civil engineer in order to come up with a stormwater management plan that would keep any additional runoff on the site.
Okay. And as the abutting neighbor had noted, the pitches of the roofs are all draining effectively towards the northeast in the direction of their property. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so the stormwater mitigation that you'll be doing, what do you anticipate that may look like?
We only threw around initial ideas. We don't have any feedback from the engineer yet. However, my thought was that the most logical place would be slightly downhill on the driveway side, redoing the driveway in the process, because there's going to be a lot of excavation there anyway, as part of the addition project. And so rain leaders would simply lead rainwater would simply flow downhill towards the driveway, and it'd be under the driveway as one option.
Okay. So you're considering to be doing subsurface infiltration of the water, not a surface runoff situation.
No.
Okay.
That's correct. The first subsurface, yep.
Okay. And then there was a question that was raised about the area of the garage and whether it was included in the gross floor area. In the calculation for gross floor area in the bylaw, which is section 5321, the Where's the line? So areas used for accessory parking or off-street loading purposes are excluded from the calculation of gross floor area. So the reason that the area of the garage is not included in the calculation is because specifically under the zoning bylaw, it is not to be included in that calculation.
Attached or detached, correct?
Yep.
Right.
In the application that you had provided, you had noted that the existing front yard depth is 24.8, where the minimum is 25, so it's just slightly a nonconformity currently with the front yard setback. And then there were no other setback or other nonconformities noted. I will note that the application has the existing and proposed gross floor area. It's listed differently in two different places. I did not pick up on this until yesterday. And so the total proposed gross floor area as listed is noted as being 4,342 square feet, but I believe that calculation includes the parking garage in that calculation, which when removed would bring it back in line with what's shown at the front. So I think that the discrepancy between the two is just that the gross floor area of the garage was inadvertently included in the second set of numbers, but is properly omitted from the first set of numbers. So the existing gross floor area is 2,830 square feet, and the proposed would be 4,001 square feet. Just wanted to clarify that for the record. If I could go ahead and ask Mr. LeBlanc if you could further address this question of the view from Perkins and sort of the nature of that.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at it, the addition is mostly in the back of the house, and when you start to go around that side of the street, that's where you would see most of the addition. So right now you sort of see the background of sort of, I guess, some trees and whatnot, and then you would start to actually see more of the building on that side. So it might be more imposing to the abutters on that side than the current condition.
Okay.
So I think it's something to consider when we're talking about the addition in harmony with the neighborhood. And I know I see from it we're sort of stepping up to there, but there's also some grade changes in there as well, where that house on the corner of Perkins and Grandview is a little bit lower than this house already with the current grades that are there, if I remember correctly. So it already sort of is already higher, so it reads differently than if they were at the same grade to begin with.
Okay. So let me go ahead and share. So there is no Google Street View for Grandview and for Perkins. So we have effectively just the 3D views. Now we don't have direct street views. So this building here and garage is no longer here. This is now a 2.5-story building set up from the road. That is currently that was, I believe, just completed and is just now up for sale. This is the house that we are discussing here. This is the abutting neighbor at 83 and the abutting neighbors at 19 Perkins. So I can zoom around here. So from the Perkins side, you can see, so this is that patio space between the house and its garage. So this is the area that would be infilled by the house. And the portion that is closest to the existing fence would be single story. And then the portion that is closer to the driveway would be a 2-story addition. So the building steps down in this direction here. And then as we can see, the rest of the lot is effectively just wooded. And so hopefully gives a little bit better sense as to what the plan is. So the infill would be in this area here, adjacent to this house.
I also just want to add that I think whatever addition or dormer was done in the past at some point doesn't help with the massing of this building.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of an awkward addition.
Yeah.
And so I'll just go ahead and return to the house plans, which should be hopefully sharing now. There was the massing ones, yeah. So this is the view that you would see from the corner of Perkins and Grandview. And then what you would be seeing if you were on the other side looking on down Grandview from the other from closer to Eastern Avenue. I will also note that the board is in receipt of a few and some correspondence. So this is a letter from the residents at 90 Grandview, speaking in favor of the proposal. That's the first. The second is this one here, which is by Ms. Grogan, who had spoke earlier. She had mentioned she had submitted a letter, knowing that she was opposing it. Noted that there was a dormer added recently, which Mr. Blank had noted. Plan shows usable open spaces, wooded, and that most of the backyard would be taken up by the proposed addition in that paved area. It says it appears to be designed to accommodate a future accessory dwelling unit or kitchenette unit. And then concerned about drainage and requesting that the permit be denied. Oops, come on. There we go. And then the last one here, this is from the residents at 86 Grandview Road, which is across Grandview, who also have concerns. They know the expansion appears to be significantly larger than many of the established homes in the neighborhood, that it has gone through renovations, including a dormer in the past, making it one of the larger homes. Concerned about stormwater and drainage, and concerned about runoff going into the road, making it dangerous for pedestrians and cars, and that the front of their yard is where water tends to collect. So they want to make sure that there are no drainage problems caused by this project. And then there's no mention of a future ADU, I think was what was intended, or future kitchenette and office spaces in the general scope of work. Request any permits granted be for work for the present, not for the future. And then should be able to approve their powers opposed to the size of the addition opposed for 87. So those are the three letters that were submitted that are available currently on the board's website. So with that, return back to the board. So for this application for special permit, as we noted, it's for large addition, and large addition does include some additional criteria for the board to consider. So I'll present these to the board for discussion. There's 4 criteria that we need to look at. The first is that the alteration or addition is in harmony with other structures and uses in the vicinity. The second is that we are to consider the dimensions and setbacks in relation to abutting structures and uses. We are to consider conformity with the purposes of the bylaw. But I wrote twice, so there's only three. And then just for reference, again, over the purposes of the bylaw. So purpose of the bylaw is to promote the health, safety, convenience, morals, welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Arlington, lessen congestion in the streets, conserve health, secure safety from fire, panic, and other dangers, provide adequate light and air, prevent overcrowding of land, avoid undue concentration of population, encourage housing for persons at all income levels, to facilitate the adequate provision of transportation, water, sewerage, schools, parks, and other public requirements, protect and preserve open space as a natural amenity for scenic and aesthetic enjoyment and recreational use, conserve the value of land and buildings, encourage the most appropriate use of land throughout the town, achieve optimum environmental quality through review and cooperation by the use of incentives, bonuses, and design review, preserve and increase its amenities, encourage an orderly expansion of the tax base by utilization, development, and redevelopment of land. It is made with reasonable consideration to the character of the district and to its particular suitability for particular sites, with a view to giving direction or effect to land development policies and proposals of the redevelopment board, including the making of Arlington a more viable and more pleasing place to live, work, and play. So those are the purposes of the zoning bylaw, which we are to consider. Go ahead and stop that again. So the proposal itself is for an addition that will effectively increase the square footage of the house from 2830 square feet to just over 4,000 square feet. That will make this a rather large home in the neighborhood. I don't know the area of the house immediately abutting to the southwest, what that ended up with as a size. There are a number of larger homes on Grandview, but I don't have the square footage for those, so I can't speak whether this is how this relates to other specific homes in the neighborhood. The neighborhood map I displayed in the before, the floor plate of the proposed house would be on the larger size, but is similar to others that are in that neighborhood, but would be a larger footprint, it appears, than other homes in the neighborhood. But the question is whether it would be in harmony with other structures and uses. Certainly it would be in harmony with other uses, continuing as a single family house. But the question of whether the addition as presented would be considered in harmony. So just return those. And then the next question in regards to dimensions and setbacks, as we showed before, the house is very close to the house at 83. And the single story portion of the addition would continue to be very close to that side property line, which is the rear lot line of 83 Grandview, the side lot line. But the second story being more towards the center line of the lot rather than off to the side. Any questions or any comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Hanlon?
I'm somewhat uncomfortable, but the considerations that have been raised by Mr. LeBlanc are somewhat concerning. My view of the large additions provision, I mean, this is ultimately that this is designed to aim at the place where even if you meet all of the other zoning requirements, there's a possibility once you're dealing with infill or changes in an established neighborhood that the exact way in which a house or proposed change deals with the closest houses, the abutters, is given special weight because of the potential harm that that can do. And there's been a lot thrown around that I don't quite get yet because I was not prepared about the idea of property changes and so forth. But I do have the feeling now that from what Mr. LeBlanc has said, that essentially the view of the back, the area that is being extended from the houses on Perkins, that particular sort of border, the arrangement of buildings, even though on the GIS map it looks as if it just seems to me that it's a potential problem. And I, as the lawyer and not an architect, am not going to be very dogmatic about this, but I'd encourage the people who are architects to weigh in on this, because this is just enough that on its face gives me some reason to feel uncomfortable with the application.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, is that there someone else? I thought someone else.
Mr. Rosenberg, go ahead.
No, I'll like Mr. Hanlon, I tend to agree, and I'll, as the non-architect, I'll get out of the way so you guys can talk about the architecture, since I think that is the issue here in the massing. But I'm of two minds. One is I appreciate that this is a larger lot, and that this proposed siting does not push as close to the setbacks as other projects might. I think it's set back, in a wooded area. I think some care has been taken, for example, by proposing that the garage be removed to bring it within the setback, not needing the land swap that's being explored. The massing in the middle of the house has been stepped down to the side lot line by 83. And it is a large lot, and this is I think of all the ways to increase the mass of this house and the size, it's not a bad way to do it. But it's a hulking house, and I am very sympathetic to the abutters who are looking, especially from the Perkins Road side, as others have mentioned, at a mass that is growing right up against the lot line. So I guess my question is, and I know it's always a challenge to make a use that's less than what you want, that's still viable and makes sense economically and for the uses that the owner wants to put it towards. But if there is a design that increases some of the usable area in between the existing garage and existing building, but that is more set back from the lot line with 83 Grandview, whether it's taking out the first floor area, the 1-story area along the lot line and keeping the area, that addition in the back, whether it's making the whole thing 1 story and not going up another story, whether it's taking off that dormer and redesigning the addition off of the back of the existing house in a way that flows a little bit more and is less imposing on the neighbors. But I guess my question is whether there are other designs that were considered that maybe have a little less mass up against the lot line, since that seems to be the key issue that people are concerned about.
So to ask Mr. Onesian, or perhaps the homeowners, if other considerations were made, or if there are other designs that were possibly less encroaching upon the sideline. I will note that the proposal does move the house closer to the side lot line at 83.
Hey, do you want us to talk, or you got it?
Yeah, so as you can see, the general massing, while it does provide the square footage that we mentioned, the 1,171 square feet additional gross floor area, you can see from the roof pitches that we try to keep that massing as modest as possible, very low pitch roofs. I myself considered the dormer situation, because that was designed and built by the previous developer that my clients bought the property from. And so, but it is a finished area and it is a substantial cost with not quite enough benefit given how much it would take to redo that whole area to better invest the money into the addition itself. Having said that, we also had a previous version of a schematic version that we studied that had actually a larger second story with an additional space that we scaled down. So I'm also sympathetic to, the scale and the massing of the site, but I also I'm looking at this as, for example, if it was a new construction home, and you meet all the setbacks and height requirements, we would not even be here. We could potentially build a larger house and without having to go through any zoning potentially. But in any case, the point is the size of the lot allows for these dimensions, meeting the setbacks. We're no taller than any part of the existing house, the ridge height, not even close, in fact. And so we've done the best we can to meet the client's requirements for their growing family and their in-laws and their work at home situation while maintaining the least mass possible. Anything you'd like to add? Nadav, Alex, it's up to you.
I think we've considered all of our absolute must-haves and really, really would like to haves. And I think the first floor is very much part of it also is we want to connect the garage to the main house. And we could do that without going through a special permit. But I think that having that second floor master suite would allow us to be on the same floor as our two kids. One is 5 months old, the other is 3 years old. And yeah, going up and down the stairs kind of terrifies our parents who are all in California. And so that's also part of it is being able to be on that same floor as them would be really, really helpful to us. And yeah, we would prefer, we like our two car garage, but we're definitely willing to do that 1.5 car garage in order to make this connection and we tried to scale back the house. We don't want it to look too out of place in the neighborhood. But yeah, as mentioned, the one next door is bigger than what we're planning to build, which a separate thing, but
there's also a house, I think it's 100-something Grandview. It's green, it's on the same side of the street as us. That's 4,300 square feet as well. So there are a number of houses on the street that are larger than what we're proposing.
Yeah. And the abutting house at 95 Grandview is 4,594 square feet per its real estate listing.
Is that by right? Do we know? I believe it is by right.
That was by right. That was not through us.
Yeah.
Oh, one other comment about
yes, please.
Parents. Both of our parents, they live in California. They want to come and see their grandchildren. Her mother has 2 replaced hips. Her father's knees. Hips are coming. Father's one ankle was just reconstructed. The other one may need to be reconstructed. And so just making it as easy as possible for them to stay with us and not have to go up and down the very steep stairs that we have in the house is also very important.
From the garage down, from the patio back up.
To the house.
If we can remove all of that, I think.
And then up to the second floor where the kids are, or
where the guest room currently is.
They would be staying.
It would make a huge difference, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. The new family room and half bath is coming closer to the existing side lot line. I was just curious by about a foot and a quarter. I was just curious about the reason for that.
Initially, we weren't going to go out as far as, so there's a half bath, which is
it's poorly insulated. It freezes every winter. The pipes freeze every winter.
So we had a bunch of discussions about depending on how the survey results came back, we were either going to keep the house within that half bath or up to the half bath. We presented it as up to where the half bath currently is.
We'd be happy
We'd
to
be
knock that
open
out
to making
and
that slightly
protect.
smaller, if that makes a huge difference to this group. Because yeah, I think moving the living room closer to the kitchen was also one of our really would like to haves. But whether that is an extra 2 or 3 feet, whatever it is kind of would be nice, not essential.
Okay.
So yeah, if we need to shave some square feet, like we can talk about that.
Okay. So I think, certainly from my perspective, as one of the non-lawyers, the way that the massing of the house is proposed, I think does a nice job in trying to keep the scale down. It's not as large and ostentatious as a lot of other properties. Certainly, this is not trying to, up the game of trying to look out over the park, which a lot of properties do. So this is sort of modest. I appreciate that, there are attempts to sort of keep it smaller scale and keep it a little bit as towards the, sort of the most of the massing is towards the center of the property. It's not right on the edges. And the fact that you do have an oddly shaped lot, which does sort of force everything to be up at the front, which, does sort of make it look like an oversized house on the lot, but the lot itself is actually much larger. And that portion that goes towards the back, that is a wooded section of the lot, is a nice amenity for the home. It's not super useful for a lot of purposes, but it does provide a little bit of nature in the center of the neighborhood that I'm sure is enjoyed by the abutting neighbors, having that extra bit of separation between them. The only thing I would say about it is if it would be possible to maintain the existing setback on that right-hand side, which is currently listed as 11.2 feet, if that could be maintained, I think just that extra little bit of separation against your abutting neighbors, not sort of encroaching closer to them, but maintaining the same distance, I think that would be helpful. And I do feel that because the addition is only a single story on that side, that it's not as imposing as certainly as this prior dormer addition that was done before that for some reason missed the ridge line by a foot. There's a bunch of these around Arlington. I do not understand where they came from
It's really useful, but which is why we don't want to demolish it and rebuild it.
But I think if we were doing this from scratch,
we would not
be
do that. Yeah.
We don't like it either.
No. So I think personally, I can find that the alteration is in harmony with other structures and uses in the vicinity, especially if that existing side yard dimension is maintained. And I would be okay with the dimensions and setbacks and relating to abutting structures. And as with other additions the board has approved over time, I think it does conform with the purposes of the bylaw to allow for it does still maintain access to light, access to air, to nature, even though it is enclosing over the brick patio. And it does allow for an orderly expansion of the property, an orderly expansion of the density. And from the town's finances perspective, it does increase the value of the property, which assists the town in raising funds without having to go back to back to Prop 2.5. So I feel that for me at least, that the large addition criteria can be met, and then we I'd be curious to see what other members of the board think, and then we should discuss the other required findings for special permits, which are the ones in section 333.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. LeBlanc.
I do agree with you that if we could get the existing side setback maintained at that 11.2 feet, I think that helps me get on the same page with that as well. Because I do also agree that the way that this is designed, it does try and step that mass up. Just unfortunate of that existing dormer that just doesn't help you at all in trying to do that. So I think it's sort of the best stab that's been taken here. We can get just that little bit of reduction. I think that helps. And I also am very curious as to what will end up happening with the stormwater, because I do think that is going to be a problem, but obviously that's not our purview.
Yeah.
So I think that's I think the other thing you were sort of alluding to is this is a deceivingly big lot. It's the way that it presents itself is not big, but it is. And I think that also goes a long way to how the property or the building sort of presents itself. Because when we look at it on plan here, it doesn't seem that bad, but in the reality, the way that it's all laid out doesn't you sort of read it very differently than you would on the drawings here.
Great, thank you. Just writing down a condition here. So unless there's other comments from the board about those criteria for a large addition, we'll propose moving on to the standard conditions, findings that are required for a special permit. So as we had noted in the prior hearing, the overall finding that the board needs to make is that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts. And to reach that determination, there is a set of other findings that the board needs to make. The first is that the requested use is allowed or allowed by special permit in the district. This qualifies as a large addition where more than 750 square feet is being proposed outside the existing footprint of the house. So this is allowable by special permit, specifically a special permit under section 542B6 in the zoning bylaw. That the requested use is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. I think in part this goes to the question of compliance with the purposes of the zoning bylaw, that the expansion and better use of properties in Arlington is something that the board has consistently found is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. We do understand in this case that there is some concern about the scale of this. This is a large addition, but it's I do feel that the applicants have taken some care to try and put the bulk of the mass towards the center of the lot and to reduce the scale as it gets towards the edges of the lot, which will help to make it have less of an impact on its neighbors. As far as public convenience and welfare, allowing people to better occupy and better use their property and their homes is a benefit to the community. It helps to keep our residents in town for longer and allow them to enjoy the town and to contribute to the town itself. As the applicants had noted, they're part of the reason for the size of the first floor area is to create um, a suite that their aging parents can use when they come and visit, and to avoid some of the mobility issues that are inherent in most properties in Arlington having steps that were designed in the 1920s that are considerably steeper than would normally be allowed by the building codes today. Um, and so having that flexibility to allow their parents to come and stay um, at this point in short term, possibly in the future, um, for longer terms, is something that is a great amenity for to have and is good um, for the for the balance of the neighborhood. The requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or impair pedestrian safety. Um, so this does not change the location of the driveway. It doesn't change the number of users of the driveway. Um, as the applicant noted, the garage will change from a two-car garage to effectively a single-car garage with additional storage. As such, there will need to be a car parked in the driveway, which is a fairly constant feature of Arlington. Where we don't have parking on the street. And that change in the garage should not cause any kind of undue traffic congestion or impair pedestrian safety. Grandview Road would certainly be much better off, I think, if it did have better sidewalks than it does today. But that's not the purview of this hearing. The next is that the requested use will not overload any public system. This will take advantage of the standard water and sewer and electric services that are available in town because this is such a large addition. This will also be included in the town's bylaw that reduces the reliance on fossil fuels. So this would have to be a fossil fuel-free project, I believe, given the scale of the project. So that will be of further benefit to the town. The one system that I would be concerned about that still needs to be addressed is the stormwater system. And that it is really very important that the stormwater that is generated on the site stays on the site. And the I'm sure today that the water flows off the driveway into the street, which is not ideal. And I don't know how well the current patio infiltrates water, but having a system approved by the town engineer that will infiltrate the stormwater from the roofs will go a long way towards improving the stormwater condition on site and hopefully prevent surface flows going in the direction of abutting neighbors or across Grandview Road. The next is that the special regulations of the requested use are fulfilled. That specifically is the conditions for a large addition that we discussed earlier. The next is the requested use will not impair the character or integrity of the district. This is a larger home, but it is by far not the largest home in the neighborhood, and is, I think, presented and proposed in a manner that does minimize the bulk of the house by keeping it away from the street, keeping it in the back. I do appreciate that for the abutting neighbors on the side, due to the narrowness of the site, it is more prominent to some of the abutting neighbors. But overall, the intent, I think, goes a long way towards creating a situation where it is not as imposing and it's not sort of a big sore thumb sticking out into the public. So I think the board could find that it doesn't impair the character or integrity. The requested use will not be detrimental to public health or welfare. I think the possible detriments to the public welfare that we had discussed really sort of relate to the flow of water on the site and the visual appearance. I think the applicants have done a good job in terms of the visual appearance and the stormwater. That's something that the board can discuss should it move forward to conditions. I think we need to be careful about how we approach that. And then the last is the requested use will not cause an excess of use detrimental to the neighborhood. This does remain a single family house in a single family neighborhood. It will have additional bedrooms, but that is what a single family house is for. And as the applicant said, noted the main reason for the size of the bedroom, well, excuse me, for the numbers of the bedroom and the arrangement is to do with members of the family and wanting to maintain the family on a single floor at night and to accommodate their parents when they come and visit on a level that doesn't require as much transiting of the stairs. And so with those in mind, the board would need to find that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts. The adverse effects are the changes in the stormwater flow, the additional mass of the building, and how that might impact the neighbors. As was also noted, there was some concern about the taking up of the yard, the imposition on the view from Perkins Street, and I think those were the main ones that were brought up by the abutters and the residents. And I think that those can be mitigated to a great extent and would not outweigh the beneficial impacts of an addition like this, which allows a family in the neighborhood to stay in the neighborhood and to hopefully be able to enjoy the neighborhood for the extended period that some of the other speakers this evening have been able to enjoy being on Grandview Road. Are there comments in regards to those proposed findings from members of the board?
Chairman,
Mr. Hanlon.
so I said before that I would defer to the views of the architects on the aesthetics of it and the massing, and I'm prepared to go along with what Mr. LeBlanc and the chair have said. I would be a lot more comfortable, however, if we had a condition, even though it might be belt and suspenders, relating to stormwater management, and I'm thinking of something to the overall effect that the applicant must present to the building inspector certification from the town engineer of whatever the right way of putting that is. The chair will understand that better than I do. I know that they may need that anyway, and I still would be happier if we wrote it into the as a condition into the special permit, so that it just receives that degree of emphasis, because it actually is a really big issue, I think, as everyone says. If it turns out that our guess on that is wrong, or that somehow the process that follows us doesn't work the way it's supposed to, our conclusion that this would fit nicely in the neighborhood would be very much in doubt. So I would like to see a condition of that kind. In general, my look at this is I think that in terms of the neighborhood as a whole, that this is a much easier case than it is under the large addition provisions, which zero in more on the immediate relationship between what goes on this property and its neighbors. So I'm very comfortable with all of the stuff that the chair said about compatibility with the neighborhood. And I also think that one of the pluses of this is the plan and making a house that is suitable for intergenerational families. I think that that's a plus in Arlington. It's a plus socially, and it certainly is a plus for the residents to develop that and to develop the social relationships that go beyond that. So I don't think that's just neutral. I think that it's actually a benefit to the community for the structure to enable that kind of pattern, and I applaud it.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Other members of the board? Seeing none at the moment. Should the board decide to move forward with this application, there are the three standard conditions that would the board would apply, and those were read into the record on the previous hearing. In addition, I noted three more conditions that had come up in our discussions. The first would be that the board request the applicant work with the town engineer to address compliance with the town's stormwater management and bylaw, and to infiltrate all rainwater falling on the proposed addition. Um, would that be amenable to the applicants as a stormwater
For sure.
strategy? Okay.
For sure. In fact, anything over 350 requires a stormwater management system by a civil engineer, so we can't get a permit without it anyway.
The second is to maintain the existing side yard setback of 11.2 feet adjacent to, is that 83 Grandview?
Yep.
Would be the second. And the third would be that the board does not consider any proposed changes on lot size or configuration. I'm trying to think of how exactly to put that in. It was mentioned as a part of the hearing, but I think it's important to note that that is not under consideration by the board. So I think, Mr. Hanlon, that might be the kind of thing where we need to massage that language a little bit going forward, but I think including something to that effect would be beneficial. Are there any additional conditions that members of the board feel would be appropriate should the board want to move forward with this application? Hearing none, I would ask Mr. Hanlon if he would be willing to direct the drafting of a decision in favor of approval.
I would.
Okay, that, so we did those, we did that. So then a second, we'll hold a vote to then to close the public hearing. So with the close of public hearing, we can't accept any more testimony on the hearing, and then the board would prepare a decision, in this case in favor of approval. And then at our subsequent hearing, which will be on the 28th of July, the board will vote to either accept or not accept the written decision in favor. So with that, I will move that the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Arlington close the public hearing for docket 3905, 87 Grandview Road.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. So roll call vote of the board in favor of closing the hearing. Mr. DuPont?
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Hawley?
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are closed on docket 3905, 87 Grandview Road. Thank you also very much for being with us this evening, especially for sticking with us through a long evening.
May I ask one brief question?
Yes.
We can still, if my clients choose to, we can still come before the board and propose a separate, a slightly different project with the existing garage remaining and the lot change, but it could either be an amendment or a brand new application. It doesn't matter to me. Is that how we would approach it? We would simply
Yeah,
do a
so
new
you would
application.
need to discuss the proper procedure for filing that with the Inspectional Services Department.
Okay.
But that's something we would have to the board would have to consider it as a part of our continuing jurisdiction.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You as well. So that brings us to the end of our items, our regular meetings, agenda items. So our next meeting, as we noted, is July 28th. at 7:30 p.m. Ms. Ralston, what do we have to look forward to for our meeting on the 28th?
We have one house, Dow Ave, that wants to do a front porch roof.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Do we have anything lined up for August 11th?
I have 3 people with incomplete applications right now, so I am not sure any of them will be ready for that meeting.
Okay. Perfect. I will be away and taking that meeting on the road, so if the shorter we can keep it, the better. So it fell back off our agenda, but we're up to our open session portion of the meeting, where if there are any specific member of the public who have issues they would like to discuss with the board that are not related to a specific hearing, they can raise their hand and be recognized. But I will take this time to announce to the public that Mr. Brad Baranowski has been a faithful associate member of the board for a good period of time due to work constraints, is relocating out of our jurisdiction and is no longer able to serve with us on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We had hoped that this change in position would not require such a drastic action, but it appears it is so. We wish Mr. Baranowski the very, very best in his endeavors, and hope that should he come back to our fair hamlet here, that we're able to wrangle him back onto the board.
Thank you. If I make it back, I will definitely try to get back on the board, although I imagine there are so many people who want to debate porch enclosures and other things that it'll be a line. But I will say in all seriousness that this has been a great honor to do. My dad was mayor of my hometown when I was growing up.
Yeah.
He was not a lawyer, but he was the closest thing I knew to being a lawyer, and part of the reason I became a lawyer. And so the fact that it came full circle, that I got to serve in, kind of municipal serve town, kind of is personally gratifying to me. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, and I hope your new home is able to benefit from your experience as well.
My students will.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I want to especially say that Brad has not only written as an associate far more than his fair share of opinions in the time he's been on the board, but he's contributed a lot to our ability to streamline them and to make them clearer and so on. So from that particular perspective, which has fallen a lot to me, I'm particularly grateful that he was here, and I'm very sorry to see him go. If he wants to undertake an opinion or two, however, as a farewell shot, I think I have a couple I can offer.
Other people, share the wealth.
And note we do have a hand raised from a member of the public. I would believe this would be Mr. Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Steve Moore, Piedmont Street. At the risk of being a tad impertinent, I believe what Mr. Hanlon is trying to say is that, Mr. Baranowski, could you please stay? Don't take the new job. Stay.
Right, Dad.
Unfortunately, I cannot.
Yeah, I understand, and honestly, the board on which I spend most of my time in town is also currently experiencing some upheaval that's similar. So I feel for Mr. For the chair and for everybody else in terms of dealing, but I would hope that you would spend some time in the new town doing the same thing, because involved and dedicated citizens is something which really, as we see nationally, is not happening enough. And so whatever you can do where you're headed, please. I am sure the town would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So I will be getting in touch with the Office of the Select Board so they can advertise that we are looking for a new associate member of our board. If anyone has any recommendations, including members of the tree committee who might be looking for a change in what they do, please go ahead and file an application with the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Moore, I'm sorry. Did you think I was talking about you?
No, I guess I just was, I don't know, having a visceral reaction. Must have been some disturbance in the cosmic influence.
Mr. Moore, you could branch out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, please, no.
Sorry, I zoned out there for a minute. I'm sorry.
We got those dad jokes going fast. It's excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, I will close our open session for this evening, which brings us to adjournment. And with that, I would thank you all for your participation in tonight's meeting of the Arlington Zoning Board of Appeals. I appreciate everyone's patience throughout the meeting. I'd especially like to thank Colleen Ralston and Mike Champa for their assistance in preparing for and hosting our online meeting. Please note the purpose of the board's recording the meeting is to ensure the creation of an accurate record of its proceedings. It is our understanding that the recording made by ACMi will be available on demand at acmi.tv within the coming days. Arlington Community Media is dedicated to providing an electronic forum for the free exchange of information and ideas which reflect the talent, skills, interests, concerns, and diversity of the Arlington community. Please visit acmi.tv to learn how to support this valuable public resource. If anyone has comments or recommendations, please send them via email to zba@town.arlington.ma.us. That email address is also listed on the Zoning Board of Appeals website. And to conclude tonight's meeting, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. DuPont. So roll call vote of the board to adjourn. Mr. DuPont.
Yes, and good luck, Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon.
Yes.
Mr. Holly.
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mr. Baranowski.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes, as well. And also good luck to Mr. Baranowski.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, Brad, for all your service on the board, and best wishes for all your future endeavors.
Maybe I'll be a member of the public in hearing.
There you go. You can always, you know where to find us.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And with that, everyone else, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Night.